In this lesson, we're going to learn about 6/8 time. It's one of the most confusing time signatures that people get wrong all the time. And you have to learn carefully how the rhythms are grouped so that you learn to be able to write them properly. So let's have a look. What does 6/8 mean? Well, we have 6 on top and we have 8 on the bottom. 6, the top number, tells us how many beats are in the bar. There's 6 beats. The bottom number isn't a number. It looks like a number, but it's a name for the type of beat. So it's telling you 8 is a name for quaver. Therefore, there are 6 quavers in the bar, as you can see displayed here. Okay, so we have 6 quavers in the bar, but there's a consequence to that. We have 6. What happens when you have 6 beats in the bar? It becomes what we call compound time. So compound time is different to simple time. Compound time means that there are groups of 3. The beats are divided into groups of 3, and particularly because we have 6, therefore we can divide 6 into 2 groups of 3 beats. Simple time is when you have 2 beats in the bar, or 3 beats in the bar, or 4 beats in the bar. So it's all to do with the top number, how many beats in the bar. So if you have 2 beats in the bar, you can't have 2 groups of 3 beats, you've only got 2 beats. Even 3, if you have 3/4, well, you can't have 2 groups of 3 beats because you've only got 3 beats in the bar. So it's when we get to 6 beats in the bar, that's when it becomes compound, because then, as you can see displayed here, we can group the beats into groups of 3. So if you have a look at the beams here, you can see that the beams are in groups of 3. So they're stretching over the 3 quavers, and then the next beam is stretching over the next 3 quavers. So you can actually see it. All right, so we have compound time, 6/8, everything grouped in 3s. There is a consequence when we do group beats into groups of 3, and that is we create a super beat, or what we call a compound beat. What is a compound beat? A compound beat is a note value that adds up to one whole group of 3, in this case the 3 quavers. So what note value equals 3 quavers? The answer to that is a dotted crotchet. So the dotted crotchet is the compound beat of 6/8. So you might be familiar with the dotted crotchet as being equal to a crotchet and a half. That would happen if we were in 4/4 or 3/4, and you see a dotted crotchet and you might think, well, that's a beat and a half. That might be the way you've learnt it. Well, that's true, but that's when you're counting crotchets. The thing here in 6/8 is that we're not counting crotchets, we're counting quavers. So the quaver is the beat. It's just because we have 6 of them, we have to group them in 3s. So the dotted crotchet then becomes the compound beat. That means that in 6/8 time, 6/8 is 2 dotted crotchets. That's what 6/8 means. And that's the way you should think of it. You should think of 6/8 time as 2 dotted crotchets, knowing full well that those dotted crotchets are accounting for the 3 quavers in each group. So here is a typical rhythm. There's the crotchet and then there's the quaver. That's the first group of 3. And then there's another crotchet here in this bar with another quaver, and that's the second group of 3. And that's the right way to see it. So when we're counting 6/8, rather than counting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, we need to think of it as counting 1 and 2 and and so then we're counting the compound beats. So that makes sense. Imagine being in an ensemble and the conductor is conducting. Imagine if they conducted the quavers. Imagine if they had to wave their arms for the 6 quavers and the music was really fast. So they were going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If you had to wave your arms for all of those quavers, the musicians would get completely confused and you would never know how to follow the beat properly. So what conductors do is they conduct the compound beat. So they'll have the baton will go down for the first dotted crotchet and be 1 and a 2 and it'll come up on the 2. So they'll be counting the 1 and the 2. And it'll be 1 and a 2 and a 1 and a 2 and then that way the musicians can easily follow the compound beats written in the music. All right, so we now know what 6/8 time means. 6 beats in the bar, the beats are quavers, and there's 6 of them. Because there's 6, they're grouped in 3s. So let's have a look now and see if we can answer some of the questions that will be asked, particularly for the second grade theory test. So here is a typical question. It's a 6/8 time signature and you are given a quaver and you are asked to complete the rest of the bar. So let's look at how we answer this question because this will help you to understand it better. So what you have to do in order to complete this bar is work compound beat by compound beat. So out of the first compound beat, which is of course 3 quavers worth, we've only got 1 quaver. So what we have to do is complete the first compound beat. So that means we need to put in another 2 quavers. Then once we have completed the first compound beat of the first 3 quavers, then we complete the bar by adding a dotted crotchet for the second group of 3, the second compound beat. So let's review what we did there. We had a quaver, but that's only one of the group of 3. So then we had to add the other 2 quavers because we are in fact counting quavers. Then once we completed the first group of 3, then we enter the compound note for the second group of 3. That way we use the least number of notes possible, but still have the correct groupings. Now, many people are tempted to put a crotchet there. Why can't I put a crotchet there? That would add up to 3. The quaver and the crotchet would add up to 3 quavers. You can't complete an incomplete group of 3 by adding a value that takes up 2 quavers because the quaver is actually the beat. So it must be with the 2 quavers. That's a common mistake that people make. So learn that one. All right, let's have a look at the next one. We have a crotchet. So we have an incomplete group of 3 here. We've only got 2 quavers worth in that crotchet. So we better add the next quaver. There we have it. 3 quavers now. That first group of 3 is completed. And then we can add the dotted crotchet. All right, so you can see how we're working through the groups of 3 every time. So here is a dotted crotchet. Well, the first group of 3 is all taken care of, so we've nothing more to worry about with that dotted crotchet. So the first group of 3 are complete. All we need to do then is add another dotted crotchet. So now that bar is complete and we've taken care of the correct groupings of the notes. All right, what have we got here? Well, this is a question where a note is missing and you have to fill in the missing note. So to answer this question, we need to size it up with our groups of 3. So what about the first group of 3? Do we have 3 quavers here? No, we've only got the crotchet which takes up 2 of the quavers. So here we have the dotted crotchet. So that second group of 3 is all taken care of. So we just have to complete this first group of 3. And the simple way to do that is to put in the missing quaver. And now that bar is completed. So some other comparisons to think about. Here is a comparison between 6/8 and 3/4. In a 3/4 bar, you can also have 6 quavers. But look at the way they're grouped. In a 3/4 bar, the quavers are grouped according to the beat, which is the crotchet. 3, 4, so there's 3, the number is 3, but the 4 isn't a number, it's referring to the type of note that we're counting. 4 is a name for crotchet. So it's saying there's 3 crotchets in a bar, but that means the quavers, there's 2 quavers in a crotchet, so the quavers have to be beamed according to the crotchet beats. So here in a 3/4 bar, we have 3 groups of 2, whereas in the 6/8 bar, we have 2 groups of 3. And that's a good illustration of the difference between simple time, 3 beats in the bar, and then 6/8 time, which has 6 beats, and therefore the beats are divided into groups of 3. Here is an example of the rests, seeing it in rests. So the dotted crotchet rest, that takes up 1 group of 3 quavers. The second dotted crotchet rest takes up the second group of 3 quavers. In this bar here, we have the crotchet rest that takes up 2 of the quavers, and then we have the third quaver with the quaver rest. So that's the quaver rest there. So it's important to learn how to draw those so that you remember them well and understand what they mean. And then, of course, here for the second group of 3, we have the dotted crotchet. So that pretty much sums up all we need to know about 6/8 time. So don't forget, everything must be in groups of 3. It's compound time because there are 6 beats in the bar. The beats are grouped in 3s. Therefore, the dotted crotchets become the 2 groups of 3. So next time you think about 6/8, remember this. 6/8 is 2 dotted crotchets, and you can't go wrong.